Hello and welcome one and all, I am Old School Gamer 1971, a special shout out to Millie and Lloyd. Hope you're all having a great day and are staying safe. Today's subject matter is Terminator Resistance. Before we begin, if you enjoy the video, give it a big thumbs up, like, and if it pleases you, check out my channel and subscribe. So without further ado,
was a threat to its existence and decided to act. Judgment Day, as we eventually called it, marked the beginning of the war against the machines.
Terminator Resistance is a first-person shooter developed by Teon that released for the PlayStation 4 in 2019. Set during the future war, glimpsed in the Terminator/Terminator 2 Judgment Day movies. I had high yet low hopes for this game. On one hand, it is based on arguably the best plot in the franchise, and on the other, a lot of developers sure as hell know how to screw up the franchise. For once, you are playing as someone not called Connor, Reese, or a T-800. Teon is a Polish developer founded in 2006 in Krakow, developing games for pretty much all platforms. They have 3 teams at work on different projects at any one time. Whilst this may be the biggest release to date, this is not their first walk in the park. I managed to avoid their Rambo game for the PlayStation 3, so this is my first time playing their games. Fingers crossed. Do you remember those future segments in Terminator? You know, the ones in the nuclear torn wasteland. You remember how cool it looked? Well, unfortunately, this is nowhere near as good. Set in 2028, 31 years after Skynet became self-aware, you play as Jacob Rivers, a sole survivor of a resistance unit that was sent to Pasadena. Your mission is to get to Griffith Observatory, the rumoured location of the Skynet core. There are many side missions along the way for you to sink your teeth into. Adding your choices do affect the outcome for characters' endings, i.e. whether or not they live or die. So far, so good, at least. So is this Terminator Resistance, or is it trivial irritants? Anyone who has any experience of first-person shooters will find themselves feeling right at home here. Now you will notice that being a positive, I will now mention a negative. I do feel that they are a little clunky, not really fluid. So whilst you may feel right at home, it will keep pulling you out of the game by jarring movement, and there doesn't even need to be that much going on screen. There is also a skill tree in use in this game. This is kind of cool and allows you to choose different ways of playing this game. And there is no real bad news about this. In fact, you can add in crafting to the debate. This also works really well. It's a shame that the rest of the game does not measure up to these elements. Now again, let's just say that some of the robots' design does look cool. The bit near the beginning with the T-800s walking past as you are trying to help a boy and his sister to safety was great. Weapons sound cool. So where is the problem? The controls. Somehow, the minute there's something going on screen, it gets even more clunky. When this started happening, I started to feel that 6 more months development time and we would have been talking about a totally different game. Now the characters in places look damn good, with sweat and even goosebumps on show. For a moment I was thinking that maybe I was wrong, that I'd been being a little too harsh. Then there was a cutscene that the lighting was flashing. Not in a natural way, no, more in a glitchy way. The worst bit is, the characters do all look different, but stuff like this took me out of the game. This again is a shame. There are moments where the detail is bang on, light reflections, the wasteland, and decorative style for the inside of buildings. Then it goes and ruins all that hard work with varied textures. One minute it can look clear, a split second later it steps down in graphics. Again, for every time it impresses, it almost always underwhelms. Guns sound good, robots look good sometimes, and combat should be a winner. Now I could again go on about the visuals, but no, how about early on it hands you a bucket load of weapons. Now, if it was followed by a boss, it would not be too bad. Instead, we're given weapons to keep our mind off of how clunky it all is. And yes, when you have the automatic rifle or shotgun, it does feel good. And then it pauses for a second while you're firing, just to screw it all up. And yes, it does jump to where it would be as you was aiming.
Come on, let's clear the path. Yeehaw! This reminds me of a good old duck hunt in the swamp.
Okay, the music is present. So too is the audio style of the movies. Just not there often enough, in my opinion. I do not want it overplaying every move you make, but hearing the rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat all the time whilst in combat, what more it could have been with a little bit more of that Terminator soundtrack. They had the license, they chose not to use it. The voiceover is a little wooden, just like the movies, and adds to the overall charm. The characters do their job, giving you both something to do, mission handouts, and conversations, whether or not they live or die at the end. This does work on the whole, and I brought it up as a positive. The combat again sounds okay, but will irritate at some point, rat-a-tat-tat, over and over again. Maybe I am a little sore because of the Terminator soundtrack they could have used. But to me, put on Spotify and find your own soundtrack. Maybe use the original Terminator soundtrack, or Iron Maiden, or Rammstein. Then the gun won't matter at all. So where did this exactly go wrong? For me, it didn't draw me in. When the graphics on the game are better than your cutscene, use the in-game graphics. The textures are just bad. It looks like a Telltale game. It is a pity as there are moments you look at the graphics and you're just like, wow. And then it does something and suddenly it just doesn't look as good anymore. The graphics are the fastest way to pull you out of the game. And in second place, sound. And whilst I'd hoped for a good game that lived up to my expectations, it just didn't. I see the game as meh. Not totally bad, but not good neither. Worst bit is, I recorded this review one day after playing the game. I remembered it's bad, but just couldn't put my finger quite on why it's as bad as it is. Worst bit is, it does have some good mechanics, but I just can't get over some of the clunkiness or the visuals. Honestly, I do not see myself returning to the game. It is a pity. It could have been something quite amazing. At a first glance, it does not look bad. Look a bit deeper and you will start to be disappointed. I cannot recommend this game because it is run of the mill. It's a run and gun first person shooter with bad visuals for the time. Had this game released in 2016, it would have been pretty damn good. And I get that it's not exactly AAA, but it is not an excuse when compared to some other games. So Terminator Resistance earns a solid 7.0 out of 10. So trivial irritants this most definitely is. I'm off to borrow someone's clothes, boots and motorcycle. Now a quick update. The following day I decided to go back, and whilst I stand by what I said, I will say that it's not the worst Terminator game ever, and the development team did try. Again, I stand by my 6 more months development was what this game needed, and not to be rushed out the door to coincide with the release of Terminator Dark Fate movie, especially considering that the two aren't even connected. I did up the score from 6.3 to a 7.0. I may even go back and finish the game someday, maybe.
What are you doing here, boy? I know a kid that'd take care of you. Come on.
Hey, fuckhead! Your radio's on!
And it's done. If you found this video interesting or have any suggestions, please comment down below, as it will put a big old smile on this old face. Let's get the conversation started. I will answer you all. I post new content every week. Have a great day one and all, and thanks for your support. This has been Old School Gamer 1971, signing off.